So welcome runners. Welcome to the Footcare Clinic's first ever webinar run by runners for runners. Today we've got our partners and collaborators from Active Feet, Damien, and from Bayside Run Coaching, Jim, joining us. So I'll hand it over to Damien to introduce himself first.
G'day everyone, thanks for joining us, and thanks to Kim and Jim as well. My name's Damien, worked at Active Feet. We're a podiatry-based footwear store, and without boring you, we like to make sure that the shoes fit well for the purpose. I've been doing that and fitting shoes for a few years, so 20 years. So I started when I was about 10, of course, if we get the calculations right. So we do see lots of feet. We have a really good relationship with our medical health and fitness professionals in store. And so all of our staff are trained, and we like to think we do a really good job of it. And we've got a big range of shoes to choose from and play with. And we do like to stock up on them ourselves and go for a run. So that's the short story.
Thanks, Damien. Jim?
Yeah, look, so I'm a coach at Bayside Run Coaching, and I've also got a few other jobs. I'll probably just go through a lot of that in my presentation, but yeah, I'm a runner with a marathon problem, so we'll get into that. But yeah, so I do a few different coaching roles in schools and in my own business.
Awesome. Thanks, Jim. I'll introduce myself a bit more later, but just briefly, so if you've never met me before, I'm Kim Nanha-Wood. I'm the director at the Footcare Clinic, podiatrist, and I love running. And I think my passion for running was born out of being a podiatrist, as well as meeting awesome friends when I started the sport. So that's really helped me continue my passion in running and beyond. So the schedule for the day, I will start presenting first, and then we'll go from Jim to Damien. So thank you, guys. Let me just share my screen. So, all right. So thank you everyone for attending this webinar. Today, as I said before, each of us will be going through about 15 minutes each, running through specific points that we specialize in. For me, I'm going to focus on practical tips for you to learn how to reduce your risk of getting a running injury. Jim will be going through strategies and how you can safely emerge from the lockdown. And Damien, of course, will be going through all the shoes, the facts, and everything that you need to know about how to choose the right running shoes for you. At the end of that, we will be having a very fun draw of the 10 $50 Active Feet vouchers, so stick around for that. However, during the whole talk, if you could please pop in the Q&A box underneath there on the panel below on your screen, just any questions that you have, and we'll try and answer that at the end of all of our 3 presentations. So I am, as I said before, a podiatrist. I've been a runner for about 15 years now, after when my first daughter was born. I'm a mum to 3 kids who incidentally hates running. I love trail running, especially the ones that goes for days on end. And I love to travel and explore new places. And above all else, I love to help people achieve their goals inside and outside of work. Now, when we talk about running injury, we need to know what the definition of a running injury is. This definition was only formulated about 5 years ago, believe it or not, when about 112 running researchers, health professionals got together and figured out what it is that is a running injury. So this is what they came up with. A running injury is a musculoskeletal pain in the lower limb that causes a restriction or stoppage of running, whether it be distance, speed, duration, or training, for at least 7 days or 3 consecutive scheduled training sessions. Or if the runner requires to consult a physician or a health professional. So if you have pain after a run and it goes away after 1 or 2 days and it doesn't come back, that's technically not a running injury. Most likely it's DOMS, or delayed onset of muscle soreness. So let's do something fun here in that I want to see how many people on this, on this presentation have a running injury. Oh, so we've got, thank you everyone for answering the polls. We've got 71% saying they have had an injury in the last 12 months and 29% not. Okay, that's very interesting. Simply because, let me share my screen again. Simply because, guess what the researchers have found? They have actually found 70% of recreational and competitive runners sustain overuse injuries in any 12-month period. So that was bang on, guys. So really, that's amazing. So that's 7 people out of 10 every year gets injured. And this is why. Why does running come with such a high risk of injury? And it comes down to this: running is a repetitive movement. That's it. We run 1 foot in front of the other and continue to do that ongoingly. So when it comes to running injuries, this particular slide is the crucial slide that you need to think about. It's all about load management. So the right amount of load is good, which means knowing what the right load is going to be crucial for you to avoid an injury. And then I'm going to go through a lot of tips later to take you through the steps. But basically, think of it as a scale. So when you're training, the more you train and the less the tissues on your body, your tissues, your muscles and your bone, the less ability they have to handle that load, then that means it's likely they're going to be injured. You're going to get an injury. So the key here is to reduce the load while you gradually adapt to that load by doing certain things, which I'll definitely go through in the tips. So remember this slide, it's very important to make sure that that scale is even, that you don't tip to one side or the other. Oops. So tip number 1, avoid doing too much too soon. Now we all know that, but still some people do it because they assume it's only the distance that they're thinking about, the 10% rule. But really you need to also think about only increasing your speed by 10%. So you don't go for a slow run and think, oh, I've got a speed session, let's just pelt it out. You really need to be sensible and increase your speed just gradually as you progress in your training program. Tip number 2, have rest days and cross train. So it's important that you allow your body 24 to 48 hours of rest and to recover. And during those rest days, make sure you do exercises such as swimming or cycling, just to take the load off your legs and still keep your fitness up. Tip number 3, cut down if you experience pain. Now, a lot of runners don't like to do this. When they feel pain, they think, oh, let's push through this. It'll go away. Sometimes it will, but then sometimes it's actually a sign that your body is not adapting to, the exercise or the load that you're putting onto it. So it's good to mix it up and to walk. It's okay to go for a run and stop to go for a walk if you experience pain, rather that than endure an injury that will stop you from running for a long time. Tip number 4, if there's any strength training you do, it needs to be the lower limb. You need to focus on your lower leg strength and make sure they're flexible as well, and incorporate that into your training program. So when we talk about lower leg strengthening, we're talking about calf raises, squats, lunges. All of those exercises are quite important. Tip number 5, so aside from the lower limb, it's good to even also do a whole body workout to make sure your trunk, your core, and all the ligaments in your upper body is stronger, so that also improves your form and reduce the impact when you're running. Tip number 6, now Damon will go through this later. Regular shoe renewal is a must. Now, base this on your distance. And we usually say 500 to 750 kilometers. Maybe Damien might disagree with me there later, but he'll let us know. But do not go by how you feel in the shoe. Don't wait until you feel that the shoe has worn down too much. I think that might be a bit too late then. So, use the apps like Strava or Garmin. I'm sure they have apps there where you can log in the type of shoe you're wearing and when you start wearing it, and then it'll tell you how many Ks you've done on it. Tip number 7, improve your running form. So making sure that you know what a good running form is when you're running, and paying attention and making sure that your upper torso is straight, your lower back isn't arched, your head is directly over your shoulders, and consciously landing softly. A lot of people don't concentrate on that. You're too busy talking to your friends. Landing softly means you're engaging a lot of muscles to take the load off the leg muscles. It's really important for you to do that, and avoid overstriding. Overstriding has been found to cause a lot of knee and foot injuries. So if you're not sure about what a good running form is and whether you have it or not, you need to seek a professional to look through that for you. Tip number 8, if you love the concrete, you're pounding on the pavement every day, I would definitely suggest that you vary your terrain. Make sure you look for more softer ground to run on, much more forgiving, and it helps to just reduce the impact on your feet. Tip number 9, we're nearly there, guys. Pay attention to your nutrition and sleep. It's so important. Having good sleep is going to be crucial for your body to recover. When you sleep, you will, your body goes through a lot of functions like inflammatory regulation and recovery, immune response. Everything happens when you're asleep. So make sure you get enough of that. And eating right and hydrating correctly is very important. Making sure you eat, good carbohydrates, protein, calcium, and vitamin D. And last but not least, see a health professional. A lot of the times it's hard for you to see what you're doing. And also it's really hard for you to know what the weaknesses on your body, weak muscle groups are. So this is when it's crucial that you see a health professional who can look at that subjectively and also, assess you properly to show you what those areas that you need to work on are. So out of the 10, the 3 top takeaways that I want you to remember, the crucial bits that I feel is the most important, is find out what the weak muscle groups that you have are, and incorporate the strength training into that very targeted group to improve that, so that you can then run better, more efficiently, and reduce your risk of injury. And mixing up your running routine, and it's just surface, speed, and distance, making sure that you're not doing the same, distance every day or the same surface every day. spice it up, and concentrate on good running form. So they're my top 3 takeaways for you. Thank you for listening. And now I will hand it over to Jim. Thanks, Jim.
Back. Thanks, Nan. I really enjoyed that, and I think I particularly like that you focused on the correct running form, because I obviously think in my work that that's something that's of great importance. So I will share my screen as well, and we might do a poll shortly also. So just hold on a second. Self-organized. Where are we? Okay. And present. Okay. So thanks, everyone. So what we've been looking at today is a really rounded approach to getting back into running after what has been a pretty incredible year that we've had. Whereas Nan and probably Damien will talk a little bit about a lot of the technical aspects. I think my presentation is a bit more about just reflecting on where we've come to, and how we kind of get our groove back and get ourselves back into running and enjoying our running. So that's really what this is about. So a bit about me. I'm a level 3 recreational running and athletics coach. As I mentioned before, I have 3 jobs. So I'm the founder and head coach at Bayside Run Coaching. And I do some work for Athletics Australia in their sporting schools program, which is great, going around to different schools. And also I work at Melbourne Girls Grammar as an athletics coach. So I've got 3 daughters, an amazing wife. So we've all got 3 kids, it appears. I'm a runner with a marathon problem. So I do love my marathons, and it's a distance that I personally really enjoy the challenge of. And part of today is about working out what are the things we really love about our running. This year, I'm actually trying to run 20 marathons as a challenge to raise funds for the Children's Hospital. So it's something that I've sort of set myself to do, and it's a stretch goal, but it's one of the reasons why I love to run, is about doing something for other people. So that's a bit about me. Okay, so we're just quickly going to look at, go through and look at our running in 5 key aspects. So the first of these is to, acknowledge everything that 2020 has thrown at us. It's really been an incredible year. And just to say it's okay, wherever we are with our running, that's fine, because it has been a crazy year. To remind ourselves why and how we love to run, to set some achievable run goals, to build running routines to keep us on track, and to celebrate our return to running and the environment we now find ourselves in, which is great. Okay, so we've just been through an experience that is unprecedented. So I know for myself, just reflecting on the year so far, it has been tough. I think there's been lots of challenges with, financially, challenges with potentially our mental health, challenges with having kids home from school, and, a whole range of other things. And some people have managed this year better than others, and some have really struggled. And so I think it's important that we just realize that, well done. We have got through what is an amazing and just crazy year. And, hopefully we can look forward to more things ahead. So as I just mentioned, For me personally, if I was to list things that have influenced my life this year, I guess kids learning from home and no kids activity or sport for 6 months. My own business shut down for 3 months and half my business not able to operate for 2020. That's my school, all the schoolwork I had. Just, I guess, mentally draining, worrying about my family and the state of the world, and, a lot more stress around, basically. Trying to develop discipline and routine in a jumbled up world. You can have days where you've got nothing on, and then other days where you've got a lot on, and just being able to manage new routines or a total lack of routine that we've had to experience. Being stuck in my 5K bubble. Okay, so when I'm having to run a marathon and I only have a 5K radius and I can only exercise for 1 hour outside my home, you could probably understand that these are real challenges that get put in front of you. So, we've had to kind of deal with those challenges and deal with the fact that we can't necessarily see family and friends. So it's been a rough year. And trying to procure toilet paper, sanitizer, and flour, which at various times created a huge amount of stress. All right, moving on. So I think now's the time, with restrictions easing, with, we can do more stuff. We've got more time. We can go further distances. It's about starting again and saying, okay, how can we be in the best frame of mind to continue our running into the future? So there's probably a few key things that I wanted you to reflect on. So first of all, what is it that you love about running? How and when do you run? So do you run in the mornings, in the evenings? Do you run with music, without music? And how do you feel after completing, a great training run or event? And I want us to be able to capture and bottle that feeling so that we can then take that with us as we start again. I was wondering if possible, Nan, if it's possible for us to move on to that poll that we had prepared.
Yes.
Can we do that?
Poll is being launched.
Woohoo!
Right.
Okay. So just go for it, guys. Just think about those 3 questions. Why do you run? How and when do you run? Actually, it's just those. And where do you like to run? Be good to get an understanding of what people's preferences are. Give you a minute to do that. I'm not quite finished yet, Nan. Hang on. So many choices.
That's okay. Plenty of time.
All right. How are we going? We're getting some responses in there.
Yes, Jim, I think everyone has responded now.
Fantastic. Now you're the holder of the knowledge, Nan. So what have you got for us? So fantastic. So we've got probably the key ones: mental health, 92%, fitness, 77%, challenge and social were also quite high. It's interesting because a lot of people that don't do much running talk about running in terms of weight loss, but that's been my experience also, that it's not necessarily a really high a high scorer. It's much more about your own mental health and physical health. So that's pretty true to form. How and when do you run? 77% by myself and 62% in a social group with friends. So people do both, okay? And most people do running in the morning, but a few in the evenings as well, okay? And with music and without music is about equal, which is interesting. And finally, where do you like to run? Roads, footpaths, and local trails, and also probably at running events, all were on 62%. So suggesting people run local, but they like to work towards some big events as well. And really, whatever responses we got there was fine. I think in some respects, it's about you reflecting on how you like to run. Because if you're going to, set up the best system for your own running, then you need to kind of reflect on what it is you like to do when you're running. Do I like to do music? Do I not like to do music? And give yourself the best chance to enjoy your running. So thanks, guys. That was fantastic. All right, so we'll move on. Okay. So just quickly for me, probably at the top for me is personal challenge. So just challenging myself to do new things, fitness and health, socializing, enjoying nature, and through my coaching roles, helping others to run, and my fundraising stuff as well. So this photo is actually a photo I took last week before a 7 a.m. coaching session. And it just reminded me how wonderful it is just being out in the early crisp morning and just getting out there and enjoying nature when most other people are still in bed. So it's a lovely thing about running. Okay, so just the last few things I want to talk about. How do we then put that into action? So what are a couple of things we can do to really get ourselves back into the groove and just enjoying our running again? So running goals. Setting running goals is a great way to motivate you with your running, and it actually aligns quite closely with the previous conversation we've had about the reasons why you love running and when and how you run. So in terms of running goals, they can actually be quite different for different people, but make sure that you're doing things that are working towards and are in line with your love of running. So that's really important. So maybe, for example, I know Nan loves the trails, so maybe one of her running goals is to work towards a big trail run that she has in mind. That way she can get out onto the trails to train, and that's her running goal aligns with what she loves to do with running. So running goals can be quite different. Nan touched on the idea that you don't want to overtrain or train up too hard too fast, but running goals can be event-based, based on a distance. I want to run a marathon, I want to run a 10K. It could be based on pace. We had a runner recently who said, I really want to try and do 5K in 30 minutes. And over time, she worked away on that, and then she achieved that, and she was really happy. It was a great goal. It can be something as simple as, I want to be able to get out and run 3 times a week. That's my goal. And although that seems like a way to a goal, it's actually a goal in itself, and you can feel proud of achieving that to keep your running going. And we kind of call that big goals or mini goals. So running goals is a critical part of your motivation and a great way to kind of direct your running. The other thing that when we're putting it into action is all about, I often talk about running being all about routine. So it's, if you can get into a routine that works for you, then that's you're much more likely to be successful with your running. So routines help to organize and motivate us. They should be flexible when different parts of our life need to take precedence, which is obvious. So if you've suddenly got a big set of exams coming up and you're going to stress about, am I going to get that run in because I'm tired and I'm studying for exams, leave the running aside. You know, you need to be able to prioritize different things at different stages of your life, and you'll enjoy your running more if you don't put so much pressure on yourself. So I've seen people that feel so much pressure to do all these different things and fit them all in, when that can often lead to injury because you're tired. So that's something to keep in mind. So obviously at this time, when we're coming out into our new COVID normal, we're rethinking our routines in different aspects of our life. So running is also part of that, and we need to slot it in where it fits and where it works for us. So that's so we've talked about routines as a really important way to organize yourself. And then just to finish up, we'll just recap the things therefore that we've talked about. This is like Nan's 3 tips. I guess we need to acknowledge it's been a massive year for us and unprecedented and all over the shop, and that's okay. It's great you guys are able to reflect on why you love running, and for everybody that's different. So that's important that you kind of know what it is about running that you like and you can build on. Running goals can be useful to get us motivated and out the door, and building a routine for yourself. Building a routine is really important because then you can slot your running in and it just helps you enjoy it more. So just to finish up, our new set of words, they're all about positivity. Where we are at the moment is a great credit to everybody, and I think we can look forward positively and celebrate the fact that, unlike some other countries in the world that are about to go into winter and have lots of trouble with the pandemic at the moment, we've done a lot of hard work, and if we can organise ourselves well, then we can really benefit from that as we come into this nice spring weather. So thanks, guys. Really appreciate that, giving us the time to present that.
Thank you, Jim. I really enjoyed that. I like the fact that you focused on the different running goals. Running goals doesn't always have to be distance or events. It's just getting up 3 times a week. That's an important running goal too. So thank you very much for that. Over to you, Damien.
Thanks, Kim. Thanks, Jim. First thing, I've just realised how much of a lightweight I am in running compared to Jim and Kim. So I have run a couple of marathons, but certainly 20. But hats off to you, Jim. Good on you. That's massive. And Kim, if you're doing ultra stuff, unbelievable. So well done. I obviously work with shoes and feet every day, and want to give you an idea about, I guess, where shoes have come from, why they exist, where they're going, and how they can help. Often we get people coming into the store thinking that the shoe might be the silver bullet. It's part of a solution if you've got an injury, but certainly it's not going to be the only factor that's going to help. I think we can all appreciate that. And some of us might have had some successes with footwear, and some of us might have had some disasters. And that's where hopefully getting the right advice around footwear based on your needs and also your mechanics and what just fits you the best is going to help. So let's talk about shoes. Where did they start? I think a long time ago. And what I mean by that is if we can think back to maybe some ancient times when activities and sports became more regular, might have started off with something like a sandal design. It's something to protect the foot from the surfaces, and that's still what it's about today. A little bit more in the recent past, I should say. When people were training, well, maybe as early on as the 60s, 50s, and maybe before then, people that were running were runners, and they were running for their fitness and sport. It certainly wasn't recreational, and they were really thin, flimsy types of constructions, not much under the foot. Might have heard of things like cinder tracks that people were running on. So it was pretty minimal. So about mid-1970s, when there was an Olympics, there was an American fellow who won the marathon, and it sort of sparked the interest of a lot of the Western world, and they thought, hey, hang on a minute, this looks like a good idea. Let's start doing it recreationally. Everyone was inspired. And so there was a running boom, and more people were running, and more and more people were running in probably really wafer-thin things. And certainly in the Western world, they were running on really firm, hard surfaces like concrete. And that's where the boom in development in athletic footwear and the, I guess, appreciation of how that might help reduce the risk of injury came into play, and also help with performance too. So around the mid-1970s, a running boom, these really thin shoes, people were getting injured. More and more people decided to start jogging, I think it was referred to, and then running, and it was recreational and for fitness and health, and more injuries. So in comes a couple of smarter people that know a bit about feet and shoes, and they start to put the two things together and realize humans were doing high impact repetitive activities on harder surfaces. And that's when we started to get things like, I've got a bit of show and tell here, we started to get things that now had an actual base of cushioning underneath. Okay, that's essentially what a modern shoe looks like or represents. So we put a bit more cushioning. Awesome, fantastic. More and more people loved it, felt good, still the same number of injuries. So the great thinkers went back in the shoe world and went, hang on a minute, let's look at these things that we know as feet. And there's a foot, there's a couple of different foot types that we recognize. There's a regular foot shape, there's a high arch shape, and there's a flatter foot shape. And some people go, oh yeah, I can identify with that. I might have one or the other. There's nothing wrong with any of those shapes. There's a big bad word called pronation. Whoa, scary. Pronation is natural. Pronation will happen. It's basically the foot rolling in. Now, the reason I talk about pronation is that each of these feet actually can pronate at a different point. A high arch foot tends to be a bit more rigid, may need a little bit more help with cushioning because it doesn't absorb shock as well as maybe something like the flatter foot, which really absorbs shock. It's a bit of a pancake, but maybe doesn't have as much stability. So what we do at Active Feet, and certainly other places, is we start by having a look at things from the ground up. To help with that, we also use one of these. When was the last time you got your feet measured? This one's well worn. Part of my history collection. A Brannock device will help get you close to the right fit. In Australia, we do tend to use the US fitting or the US sizing, and that's our base mark for fitting athletic shoes. And there's lots of other fittings, and that makes it really confusing, and I'll get back to that before the end. So I've touched on maybe where things have come from and where things are going. Now, where things are going are a little bit exciting for people like me that have worked with shoes. Let's show you really quickly what a shoe is made of. There's the top of the shoe, the upper. Here's one I prepared earlier. There's the inside of a shoe with things like cushioning. And then there's also things that are built into the shoe that are a bit firmer. This is a stability device. You also find stability devices at the heel. So what I think we'll do next, I'll share my screen if that's okay. sorry, Kim, I might need a hand just to share my screen.
At the bottom of your screen.
Got it. Thank you.
Yep.
I'm an absolute webinar pro. So here we go. There's a few different things on this screen, and to highlight some of those areas that we'll have a look at, the way the body moves. But of course, some of us are more podiatry trained than others, but we're all trained. Go to the next session here. So this is what you might experience in a store like ours. We will have a look at the way your feet move. And the best thing about it is that you get to not only walk on the treadmill to assess the foot motion, but you also get to have a go at running in the shoes on the treadmill. So a little bit of try before you buy. The goal is to find the best fit, of course, and I'll come back to that again. I'm going to skip through some of these points because a burning question that I know a lot of you will have is what's the best brand and what's the best shoe? So there are going to be better options for you. And the truth is nowadays that the brands all make and produce a range of shoes for different foot types, and they're all quality shoes. Once upon a time, we could have said that one might have been superior to the other, not so much anymore in terms of quality materials. We do take into account injury history, the activity type, the volume of the activity, the experience, and your previous footwear. Recently, with the lockdowns, we were doing some virtual fittings, and so we were looking at the wear patterns of shoes through the camera, and that tells a bit of a story about the way your foot moves. We also work with our referring practitioners and people like Kim and also like Jim, who might send their clients through to get the right advice for their footwear. Lots of different brands. We don't favour any one because, as I mentioned, they're all going to have a better shoe in the range. Here we get a bit technical. What does stable neutral mean? What does neutral mean? What does mild stability mean? Moderate stability, motion control. But I'm going to start with motion control and say that motion control is a little bit old-fashioned in the way that they're constructing shoes. They were really tough, stiff, heavy shoes that really controlled the foot from rolling in. So let's go back through. Moderate and mild stability are the types of stability shoes that are on the market more so at the moment. And again, I'll highlight that in a moment. Neutral shoes are becoming more and more popular because neutral shoes, the structure of them, they're putting a lot more into those in terms of the shapes of the shoes and the materials and the overall structure. And then we've got stable neutral, which highlights the fact that there are different categories in the neutral range. I'm going to flip back through to the end of this. Vision into the future. So midsole technology. Midsole is what's between you and the ground. Really great to hear both Jim and Kim mention that it's really important. It's always also nice if you can to mix up your running surfaces. There's also ideas around reducing weight, making a shoe a bit lighter how feels better, but we also need to think about who the person is that's wearing that shoe and actually how much they might weigh. I know it's a bit taboo, but sometimes we need to sum people up. If somebody's 100+ kilos, they probably need a stronger, heavier shoe for not only stability, but also for durability. Posting and motion control is where I'll just jump out of this screen and give you a little bit more idea about how they build control into a shoe. And it's actually a topic that's really spoken about a lot at the moment. There's a lot of discussion about whether it does much, if anything. And a lot of research is showing that all the technology and all the marketing that they put into shoes and all the different materials doesn't necessarily make them any better for the individual. So let me just jump out of here for a moment. And I've got another shoe construction. So when we're looking at our shoes, we've cut this one away. And this one's really nice to show that this grey material that looks like a bridge that sits on the inside edge under the arch, that material is reinforced, and the whole idea is it won't compress as easily, and it reduces the foot from tilting in. Again, it's a little bit in debate at the moment about how effective that is. What's not so much in debate is about how a shoe fits and feels for you, and also once you put it on, and if you get a chance to have a look in a video assessment, what it's doing for you. But the way it feels is really important. So let's just jump back into sharing the screen again. Okay, as I mentioned, there's lots of marketing and there's lots of talk about energy return, and something that's really made an impact at the moment in running shoes are things like carbon plated shoes and shoes that don't bend. So we'll show you a couple of those in a minute. And custom made shoes, something that doesn't happen quite as much. And we like to think that the range of footwear options on the market go from narrow to extra, extra wide, lots of different shapes. Generally, you will find the right fit. So let's just look at the last part of this. This is my summary and a couple of points that the guys made earlier. Everybody's biomechanics are unique, so find the best option. How are you going to do that? You can do a little bit of research. You can ask people that know a bit more about mechanics, biomechanics, and footwear, and how those two things go together. And certainly Active Feet likes to pride itself on doing that, but your podiatrist can do that too. Podiatrists would love to see you, and people like Jim would love to see you to talk about your biomechanics, because they are things that you can control to some degree and can certainly make your running experience a lot nicer if you can be more efficient. Highly cushioned shoes. So just your general running shoes, 600 to 800 kilometers. Now, if you do the maths, for some people, that's not a lot. I've certainly run through a pair of shoes in about 3 months, and there was no more life in them. But the general expectancy for our general consumer, it's around about 12 months. We find that after 18 months of regular wear, our customers will come back and say that their feet and legs are getting a little bit tired and sore. So we know it's well past the point of no return. If you're wearing lightweight shoes, 400 to 600 kilometers, they obviously are a little bit lighter on. The history of your shoes can definitely play a part of your selection process. So what you've worn before, if it's not broken, we don't try and fix it. And sometimes less is more, in a sense. If you're unsure about the information you're being provided, ask questions, definitely ask lots of questions. And comfort, I mentioned earlier, is really, really important. There's studies that prove that people that choose, that some of the runners that choose their shoes based on comfort sometimes come out of a training and a study that has been done with fewer injuries than those people that have actually been biomechanically assessed and fitted. So there's a few of those types of studies around. The most amount of stability is not always the best thing. Being overcorrected can be worse than being pronated. Pronation is the body's way of absorbing shock, like I mentioned earlier. So I've been doing a lot of talking. Let me jump out of here again and let me wrap it up for you. So there's lots of shoes on the market. How do you figure out what's best for you? Well, we look at your foot type. We look at, if we borrow a nice foot again, the way that the foot moves through its cycle, and then how that might relate to how much stability or not you need or don't need in a shoe. Comfort and cushioning, if you've got issues and injuries, we'll need to take that into account, and so will you. Cushioning is not always, I've got a message from Jim as well. Are there any brands known to be better for particular types of running or foot types? Jim, I guess there are some, but I think, again, we try to avoid some of the marketing around that, because we'll talk about a couple of brands. Here's my quick collection of shoes that I wear to help sum that up. So we've spoken about foot types, the way your foot moves, and then some of the features in shoes. Basically, a human foot only bends at the toes. So that's the spot your shoe should bend, but it shouldn't bend beyond that. If it twists and turns too much, it may be applying a bit too much pressure and force through your body, especially high impact repetitive activities on hard surfaces. What we do want generally is a nice strong heel. So the heel of your shoe is critical. A lot of us do heel strike. It's nicer if you can more midfoot strike, but if you heel strike, that is really important that you've got a nice strong construction there. And then through the inside edge of that shoe, all this material is nicely padded, different amounts of padding, and sometimes it's reinforced through the arch for the foot that may need a little bit of help because it tilts in. So here's a few different shoes to help with that question from Jim. So there are brands like on the running circuit, Hoka 1-1. Hoka tend not to bend as much through the toes. These have been designed by and for ultra marathoners, and the simple fact is they look like tractors. There's a lot of midsole. Your foot actually sits down inside here a little bit, and the shape's really quite chunky and bulky, but they're super lightweight. By not bending though, what that means is every time your foot's rolling through, your toes don't flex as much and they don't fatigue as easily. So that goes on to that trend with the carbon plates that they put inside the shoe. One of the other brands that's doing it, and most of them are doing it, Asics have got a shoe on the market that just will not bend through the front. That's designed to propel you a lot more effectively and efficiently. And certainly our friend Kipchoge, who broke the 2-hour marathon, unbelievable. He is wearing something that has a bit of extra propulsion built into it. So just a quick collection. I've run half marathons in things that are completely flexible, and that's when I was probably a little bit fitter and better conditioned. There's trail shoes that have a little bit better grip for when you're running on looser surfaces. Again, there's some funky rocker type shoes, not for everybody, but a lot of the brands are playing in that space, and your traditional road running types of shoes that do a little bit of everything. We, of course, have a range of the brands in our stores, and look, some of them do certainly stand out amongst runners, and some of them do have, I guess, a fit and feel that suits a majority of people. But don't rule out anything. Please, when you get a chance, now that retail's back open, try on a few just to make sure. And there's another one of our favorite brands, New Balance as well. The best sellers, okay, let's talk about that. In terms of best-selling shoes for runners, we find that the Brooks Adrenaline right now, the Adrenaline 20, and it's, I guess, the next model along the 21, which is going to be released shortly, that's a really nicely balanced shoe. It's lightweight. It suits a lot of feet quite well. It's a safe shoe for a bunch of people that need some stability as well. Asics have a shoe that runners love called the 2000. So that again is a stability shoe. In the Brooks range neutral shoes, we have a couple of shoes like the Brooks Ghost, again, and multiple width fittings, and also they're nice and lightweight too. And I've just missed a couple of the chats, sorry. What we might do, I'll just have a quick look here. For years, that will always be the case. Okay, so the brands do change their models every 6 to 12 months. So, and the lead time is that they've designed that shoe generally a couple of years in advance. So they're always progressing. So hopefully that helps. I'm actually going to wrap up, and maybe we'll leave a couple of these questions for later on. I'll make sure I answer them. But the top 3 tips for you. Don't hold on to your shoes for too long. Please change them sooner rather than later. I know it sounds like a sales pitch, but honestly, for injury prevention, it is a smart way to do it, especially if you're using the same pair of shoes on harder surfaces for things like running and walking. There's a lot of hype. This is my next point. There's a lot of hype around the marketing and the brands and everything else and the performance. Try not to buy into that. We certainly try to siphon what actually works, what's better for most people, and how it can help. My last point is that just think about, even if you do go through a fitting process and you find the best shoe technically for you and it feels great and it's amazing and you've had some injuries and it's helping with that, think about what else you're putting on your feet, because you can take 2 steps forward and 1 step back. If you've got a great sports shoe, for example, but then you wear a work shoe that's not as good at other times. I think over coronavirus, we've probably all spoilt our feet and worn sport shoes more often and more regularly, which has probably been nice. So hopefully that helps. And my final point is find people like Kim and Jim, because those people know what they're talking about, and together with them and with a better pair of shoes, then I'm sure your feet and your running experience will be a lot better for longer. So thanks everyone, and I'll hand back to Kim.
Thanks, Damien. That was awesome. I think we missed a question from Elisabetta,
Sure.
but I might help answer that question. Elisabetta wants to know what shoes fit big orthotics. Big orthotics. I'm assuming you have orthotics that are wide as well as deep. So what you want to find is a shoe like that has features. So you're looking for features of a shoe that has laces, that has an insole that you can pull out, because you want more depth in the shoe to fit your big orthotics. And obviously plenty of room, or usually about a thumb's width of room in the front. So go for the features. We usually don't say the brand or the shoes, because each brand has different models, and all the models are all different as well. So learn about the features, and then that way you can go shopping and pick up a shoe and know that it's going to be good for your orthotics. So I hope that has answered your question, Elisabetta. All right, so next up is the fun bit, guys. We are going to do a draw of the 10 $50 vouchers that Damien from Active Feet are kindly giving away today to all the attendees. And because we've got more than 10 people here, we need to do that draw. So I have done a nice little, I think I have, hang on a second. All right, here we go. Sorry, guys, I'm technologically a bit challenged today.
No, what's that? What's the background of your presentation? Looks like a start line somewhere.
Oh, all right. This is the live video that I took in February when I was starting at my last race in New Zealand. At 4 o'clock in the morning, this was. Preparation for running 160 kilometers. So yes, it was in a hot spring fuming place, and it was magical.
I thought it was like a Black Lives Matter protest in America or something. I thought it was like smoke coming across, and
it does look like that, doesn't it? All right, let me just share my screen so we can go to this particular slide. Okay, so I've got everyone's name on there.
Wow.
See it? All right, let's do it. Let's see who's the first winner. Well done, Chloe.
Congratulations, Chloe.
woohoo!
Second person. Well done, Tony.
Tony.
Well done, Rabea.
I'm not on this list, am I?
I'll sort you out, Jim. Don't worry.
Well done, Angie. We're nearly there, guys.
Jessica.
Bill.
Now, Kim, for somebody that doesn't do technology, this is pretty impressive.
Right.
I like to mix things up a little bit. Well done, Joe. Oh, is it going? And so beer. Now, I don't know how many I've got there.
Two to go, I think.
2 to go? All right. Thanks, Damien. John.
And lucky last.
Lucky last. All right.
Congratulations, everyone.
There you go. So let me just stop share. All right. Well, so that is it for our presentation, and congratulations to the 10 people that we've drawn out there for the $50 vouchers. What will happen now is Damien will get those details and he'll email you directly with an electronic voucher, and you can happily go shopping for your new shoes. For me today, thank you to our 2 panelists, Damien and Jim. You've given us some valuable knowledge and information, so I thank you so much. And yeah, look forward to another session soon with you guys. Let me see, there's another message coming through. Oh, everyone's saying thank you. Yeah, I think we've gone 6 minutes over, which is pretty good actually.
That's pretty good.
Yep. Have you got anything to say before we go, guys?
No, thanks, guys. It was great to be able to link in with Nan and Damien, and I think this is a good concept. We should do it more often.
Definitely.
Thanks for COVID, right?
Yeah.
All right. Have a great night, everybody. Speak to you soon.
Thanks so much.
See ya.
See you guys.
Bye.